My name is Sam Harvey. I'm a designer at Google. I work on travel and advertisements. I graduated this past summer, and it was a 2-year program, so kind of forgot when I started. I guess, I think it was 2018. Yeah. The program the program did a great job of exposing me to other professionals. I mean, at the time I wasn't a professional, but the program did a good job of, giving me opportunities to talk to designers in industry, to meet companies that were looking for designers. Um, yeah, I think professionally the program does a great job of preparing folks, and I think it's a difficult thing to do with the industry changing so quickly. Um, I think the PPP, the professional practice talks that Dick puts on and organizes were really nice for providing context to the industry that I was going to go into. Okay, the program teaches a lot of theory, and gives you a few chances to work with industry partners on projects and things like that. I think I think preparing someone to perfectly fit into a new work context is a tall and probably impossible order. Um, I think the program did a good job of giving me the basic parts, the basic pieces that I needed coming in to kind of like equip myself with methods, with skills, and with the language I needed to learn and get involved with the design system at Google, which is very much its own thing. I think every company is different. For me, I probably didn't start really contributing to projects and independently functioning for like the first month. There was so much to learn. I think that if I could go back and talk to myself when I started the program, I wouldn't change a lot because I think it worked out well for the most part. But I would say that the more professional projects and chances to collaborate with professionals, the better. I think those those taught me skills and ways of working that were more mappable to industry than some of the more kind of rigorous kind of academic related projects. For me, I think I wish I had doubled down on design earlier. For a while, I wasn't sure. I wasn't sure if I could be a researcher. I was interested in being a researcher, and then I realized all I asked were leading questions, and I was pretty shit at creating surveys and doing the things necessary to gather information like empirically. So I wish I had doubled down more on on design and the craft of design. And I think that's an area that's difficult to convey. I feel like it's difficult to convey to students that can't see how much digital craft happens in industry. The spec documents, the handoffs, the level of detailed consideration for every single part and pixel. Um, I think in school we are juggling multiple projects in parallel. We're doing all sorts of things, and so most of the time we design in a kind of seat of the pants fashion. So we kind of create an entire app, after a few pots of coffee and a week or two, right? And it's just not nearly. I wouldn't say it's realistic for larger corporations and for larger companies. For agencies, that's a great skill, and that's very very effective. But for larger groups with more established design systems already, it helps a lot to double down on your understanding of digital craft is the best way I can say it. I would give them so much advice. I I don't know. I definitely have a lot to say. I definitely learned a lot of things, sometimes the hard way, in the program. The first thing that comes to mind is to to take your master's project very seriously and to follow follow the nudges of advice and the process that Carrie is set up. So, you know, follow that chart, make sure you've defined research questions properly and framed yourself and structured yourself so that you spend more of your time following through rather than deciding what the next step should be. Um, the master's project was especially challenging for me. I did it solo, and I think going back, I definitely would not have done that again. Um, I I don't thrive very much working in solo like that. I do really well when I'm serving a team. So I think forming up with a trusted peer and dividing work by the type of job you want, UX research or UX design is would be very helpful for your master's project. And that's a huge portion of your you know, of your masters. And it's kind of like the piece de resistance, right? Of like everything you've learned. Um, Otherwise, I think I'd say um, I don't know. I could say a lot. Try not to worry too much. I think it's easy to get caught up in worries of jobs and if you'll get the right job and if you'll get the right internship and you'll get the right position that you've dreamed about or wanted. Um, there are a lot of jobs in the industry. I think I came from industrial design and also graphic design. Did a bit of interaction or like physical environment exhibit design, a bunch of words smashed together. I think UX has like a really great industry. There's a ton of jobs. They're all around. In a post-COVID world, we have the luxury and the privilege of mostly just being able to work from home and not having a lot of physical constraints. So, don't worry too much, but really hustle, and really, just do your best. Do your best. Get an internship that is going to teach you something. Find a job that's at least pointing in the right direction. I think, when I was in school, I felt like me and a lot of my peers were very worried about like our first internship, our first job, and we were worried about that defining us in some way. And I think it's fair to say that you'll have lots of jobs in your career, and your career is going to last, 20 years, whatever it is, 20, 30 years. So just kind of aim yourself in the direction you want to be generally. And also be open to learning, right? Like you've got like some knowledge of what this job is going to be like, what it's like to be a UX designer or UX researcher, but you haven't really worked, right? You haven't really done it, most likely. So there's a chance you'll get in and want to make a change, and that's okay. I guess be comfortable with a certain amount of uncertainty. There's this attitude that I always felt served me well when I remembered it, which is, in an interview setting or, in a class setting or whatever it was, and that's just, when you don't know what to do next, focus on being useful to the people around you. Focus on trying to be useful to the program, support the community. When you're talking to a company about working for them, just focus on ways that you can be useful to them. It's been very helpful for me. So if you don't know whether you want to be a researcher or a designer or a writer or a UX engineer or like a academic scientist who does like cool augmented reality stuff, like you really need to figure that out soon. I know that's probably stress inducing for some people, but don't be stressed. Just make a cup of coffee and go talk to some people in industry, go learn about the directions, and then make a decision, because the schedule is pretty intense, right? Like you need to, like the first semester you're working on projects, and then you're going to use those projects in a portfolio that you'll then apply to internships with. And by that time, you're probably going to be like by the time you finish your internship, you're almost starting the full-time job search. So there's really not a lot of time to do like, okay, these are my exploratory, not for real projects, and these are my big ones. These are the ones I'm going to use later. Like, just do some due diligence, decide which track you would like, or which, job route, which output stream you're trying to go in, and then align everything to that. It really, really helps, because then not only can you pick projects that, for instance, if you're a researcher, you can pick projects that have really, really great, pools of participants that you can pull from. You can have really, really rich results. Or maybe there's some data that you can incorporate, and you can have very awesome evidence-based parameters that you then give to a designer. But also, if you know which output stream you're going in, you can be very useful and helpful to your peers, because it's essential to have a researcher that's going to help do usability testing and help frame problems and all sorts of stuff. If you're a designer, it's really helpful. It sucks if you have to do both at the same time. And it sucks if you're on a team where people are like, well, what do you want to do? Well, I don't know. What do you want to do? It's because then it's like, well, what are we doing here? Like, like we're spending like money and time in this program. Like we should really get the most out of this project. And you will, you absolutely will. If you start with a good attitude, make yourself useful, and have a clear vision of which sort of domain you want to be in, UX domain you want to be in, and things will fall into place. Absolutely, they absolutely will. Okay, I'm just going to rattle off some other things. Some other things that I wish I knew going into the field is, there are different amounts of each of these jobs. So if you're not interested in being in like creating experiments, being an academic and going that route, the rigorous scientific route, and you're going to go into industry, you should probably know that there's a pretty steep drop off from discipline to discipline in terms of quantity of jobs, at least from what I've seen and heard about anecdotally. So design has the largest amount of jobs by far. Design was kind of like the original, from what I understand, in terms of our discipline's history. Like design was where all the hats used to live. Content strategy, writing, content strategy, research, UX engineering, all of those things used to just exist within the person they called the UX designer. And then as our industry matured, those were split apart into these other roles. But none of them have quite rivaled the size of design. So UX design or interaction design or product design, there are so many names, kind of confusing. That's the largest pool. Second, generally, is UX research. I think I see more quantitative researchers than I do qualitative researchers, but people should check me on that, because I'm just one person and one group of ideas here and experience. And after that comes, I would say, a pretty significant drop off. You have UX engineering and content strategy. So, just know that, right? It doesn't mean you shouldn't go. Doesn't mean you shouldn't go for those. Don't follow the pack if you don't want to do that. If UX writing and content strategy is your thing, like, crush it. Go be the best at it, right? Just understand the probabilities, right? And like the pools of positions and things like that that you're dealing with. There's also like, I would say there's a lot of resources available for UX design and UX research, but there's like much, just like less resources available for writers and UX engineers. If you start researching the industry and you feel like you can't find the answers you need, go find the people that you need. Like, go find people that are in these positions at companies that are reputable, that have good reputations for content strategy, that sort of thing, and talk to them and get the information directly. I actually really am a supporter of reaching out and making friends, being humble, learning from people, and getting away from the million Medium articles on the top 10 things you need to do to. I'm incredibly skeptical of a lot of that speculative, very preachy content about our industry. I think it's a lot better just to talk to people and get a sense from them. Also, it's a way of kind of soft networking, right? I'm a student, I'm here to learn, can I talk to you? It's a great opener. Everybody, pretty much anybody's going to be happy to do that. Yeah, there's my meandering advice. If you're a designer, then get ready to take your portfolio extremely seriously. I mean, everybody should have a portfolio. I even have I've got some engineering friends at Apple, and all of them, when they were applying for jobs and getting ready, they even made portfolios. I feel like portfolios it's like a better resume, kind of. Not everybody has to do the super thorough, detailed, ones that designers make, often too detailed, to be honest. But they're helpful. They're approachable, right? Yeah, if you're a designer, though, you should be ready to really be serious about your portfolio. I mean, that is the way you are judged. That is the way you are sorted. Understand that we are in a website age, and we're in a time when somebody will click on your link, maybe, because usually there's a ton of applicants, right, to all these jobs, because all the applications are available online. So it's super the threshold, the barrier to entry, barrier to apply is so low. Tons of people do it. So thousands of applications will hit some recruiter's inbox. So if you should just always understand that your portfolio is first going to be experienced at the 5-second level. So they're gonna enter it, they're gonna look around, they're gonna kind of do this, and then make a decision about if they want to stay. Right? So that first impression is really important. It really is important. You want to get away from lengthy report documents that require tons of effort. You want to get away from any forms of communication that require tons of effort from the browser, because the browser is usually strapped for time, and so they are going to find the best looking, approximately top 5%, that then they will dig in for maybe then you get the 30-second browse, right? And then maybe after that you finally get to the 30-minute browse. But don't assume that someone's going to think your website is important. They don't know who you are. You're one of many people, and so because of that, you need to treat them with respect. This is, in a very meta sense, this is your user. This is your user. They're strapped for time. They have a lot of other things to do. I imagine that whoever I'm presenting to is tired, hasn't had their coffee yet, and is going through a divorce. So, because that's the peak of, somebody having some chaos going on, and maybe they're a little impatient, right? You can't assume that people are going to be perfect, and they just happen to have 3 hours to read every detail, and, oh, your graphic's not right. Okay, well, I'll look at it again and make sure I understand. Nobody's going to do that. Um, so like respect the time and the energy of the people that have to look through all these by making yours exceptionally visual, exceptionally concise, and yeah. A lot of my answers revolve around doing doing due diligence, like just research the program, like really research it. I mean, if this is, this is a 2 year endeavor that's going to um, be intense, and it's going to require a lot of focus and time, and and money, right? So I would say it's totally worth it. It's totally worth it for me, and I'm very grateful to been admitted to the program. But I'd also say, like, do your due diligence before you go after it, right? Track down some people who not only are in the program but have left the program, and just talk to them, right? Do the same for the other programs you're considering, because you're not just looking at this one. You're looking at University of Washington, Carnegie Mellon. Track down some alumni and have an honest conversation with them. Hey, was it worth it? What did you get out of it? And then compare the programs against each other, and see if this is something you want to do, and then see which of these programs fits your interests best. One of the unique strengths of the HCI program is that it is 2 full years of rigorous education, and it sets you up very well. And it has a strong reputation for a reason. And the tracks have been split apart in ways that make sense and map to industry well. So the research track, the design track, the engineering track, they they make sense structurally. Um, but yeah, I would just research it. I feel like a lot of the questions I see on LinkedIn are honestly answered by just looking at the website, which is sounds like a lazy response to the question, but make sure you're reading the website thoroughly. The director puts a lot of work, and that team puts a lot of work into those materials. And just go get a virtual coffee with a bunch of people. Like, if you're serious about this, then you should be very serious about this, and you should go meet all the people that you can meet, and get a bunch of opinions, and find out if this is the right thing for you.